Hey guys, welcome back or welcome to my channel if you're new here. Today's video is going to be another reading vlog, and the theme of this vlog is going to be reading Goodreads Best of 2023 books. So I have 3 books that I will be reading in this weekly vlog. I think it will take me about a week. It might take me a little bit over a week, but we're gonna just say weekly vlog for now. So we have 3 books, and one is a Goodreads 2023 choice winner, and then the other 2 are just nominees, but they're pretty close to the top of the list. So I'm just gonna go through the books that I will be focusing on for this video. Oh, also before we get into the books, the idea behind this video, the reason why I'm doing this theme is because whenever I'm planning out my videos for the month, I'm always trying to think about how I can incorporate both my TBR for the month and then also just books that I personally wanna read, that I've been having my eye on, anything like that. And I thought that this would be perfect because one of the books that will be in here is on my TBR, and it's kind of one that I probably wouldn't get to otherwise, so I feel like this is the perfect way to include it and make sure I read it. Okay, so that book I was talking about is actually the center book of this video, I would say. It's what I'm actually most looking forward to, but I'm a little nervous about. I'm not sure I'm gonna like it, but I'm very excited to read it, and it's what I'm gonna start today. That is Hello Beautiful, and this is a Goodreads 2023 nominee for Best Fiction Book. It got 2nd place, so it didn't win, but it was pretty far up there with 60,000 votes. I've never read Ann Napolitano. My general idea of her is that she writes very sophisticated literary fiction. She's a very famous author in that genre, and that is not my go-to. So this will be a little bit out of my comfort zone, but I'm very excited to read this one. I have no idea what it's about. I think it's kind of a family drama. Then the next book that I will be reading in this vlog during this week is Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. This is actually the Goodreads 2023 winner for Best Fiction Book with 200,000 votes, over 200,000 votes. So we will be reading number 1 and number 2 in the fiction genre. So that is very exciting, and actually it's kind of out of my comfort zone in general for those 2 books. And then the last book, the 3rd book that I will be reading, is in the romance genre, so I am very excited for that one. It's probably the one that I think I will have the most success with. And it got 3rd place in the Goodreads Choice Awards for the romance category with around 57,000 votes. And that is Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. I am so excited to read this book. I have read 3 other Abby Jimenez books, and I'm kind of on a mission to read all of her books. And this is so many people's favorite, so I definitely have to get to it. So I'll be getting to it this week. It's been on my list for so long. I'm so excited. Very, very, very excited for this one. So these are the 3 books that will be in this video. I feel like it's a nice variety. And like I said, I'm gonna be starting with this book. And I also actually already started this book, so you'll kind of see me read 2.5 books. I'm on page 112, so maybe about a third of the way into this book. It is currently 4:30 on Monday afternoon, so I will probably be filming this video all throughout the week through Friday and maybe beyond, depending on how fast I can read. But I'm not gonna put pressure on myself because, I don't know, when I put pressure on myself to read faster for vlogs, it just gives me unneeded stress, why would I stress about this? Reading is fun. Okay, so I feel like I'm just gonna go ahead and start this book now. I finished my work for the day, and this is the time of the day when I typically start to read. So I'm just gonna get to it. I feel like I could get a good bit into this book. I have probably 4 or 5 hours of reading ahead of me because pretty much all I do on weeknights is just read from the moment I finish my work until I go to bed. So tonight is gonna be no different, and I'm just gonna crack this open and let you guys know some thoughts when I have some. Update, I am actually really enjoying this book. I might even go as far as to say I'm loving it. Definitely really enjoying it. I don't know about loving it, but I'm liking it a lot, way more than I thought I would. And it's kind of a different vibe than I thought it would have. Saying it was a family drama, I think is definitely correct. I think that that is what this is. And honestly, I don't really feel like going into anything right now, so I will tell you guys tomorrow what it's about and what's happening and all of that. But for now, I wanted to come on and show you guys my little sleeping concoction. Kind of random to put in this reading vlog, but I thought I would show you guys because my number one priority for this week is to sleep well, because last week I had a horrible sleeping week. So I have a couple things that I'm gonna be doing every night this week to make sure I have a really good night's sleep. And actually, the first thing I'm gonna do is, it's 7:43 right now, and I want to go to bed at around 9 or 9:30. So I think I'm gonna try for like the last hour to not go on my phone at all. I usually read for a long time before bed, but then right before I go to sleep, I go on my phone. So I'm gonna try and cut that out, which will hopefully get me to read more. But anyway, I also have this Sleepy Girl mocktail, which if you've seen on TikTok, it's tart cherry juice. I did a cherry seltzer and I did this magnesium powder, and it is so good. I think the cherry juice is supposed to create natural melatonin, which will help you sleep. And I had this last night and I think it worked. I'm not really sure, but I will check back in maybe at the end of the week and let you guys know, in case anyone's interested. It also tastes really good, and it's fun to put in a little fancy wine glass. And then, because the Sleepy Girl mocktail wasn't enough, I also have a sleepy time tea, but this is extra sleepy time. I'll put the picture of it right here. I saw someone on TikTok say that this knocks them out. So I'm doing that drink first and then this drink. And then the last step is that I find that even if I'm a little hungry, I won't sleep as well. Like, I like to go to sleep with a little bit of something in my stomach. So I have these little rice cake, little chocolate drizzle things. They're so good. Perfect light little sweet treat before I go to bed. So yes, I don't know if anyone cares about my little sleep habits, but that is that. And also, I'm loving the book. So see you guys tomorrow. Okay, so it is finally time for a more in-depth little update catch-up on Hello Beautiful. So I think I read a little bit more last night, not too much more, but maybe a little bit, and then you saw me reading at the beach today, and I got to around page 156 exactly, and I'm really liking this book. I said that last night, but again, I'm just so shocked at how much I'm liking it. I'm very much into the story. I would say that the story is very about mundane things and just these characters' lives, but for some reason I'm finding it interesting, very interesting, and I'm hooked, and I'm wanting to read the book. I'm not wanting to put it down, and I don't know, it's there are exciting things happening, or dramatic things happening throughout the more mundane, just day-to-day life stuff. Yeah, so the premise of this book is that there are 4 sisters. They are the Padovano sisters, I believe. It's some Italian. Yeah, the Padovano sisters. You have Julia, who is the oldest, and then there is Sylvia and 2 twins, Cecilia and Emmeline, I think is the last twin's name. And so it pretty much follows their family and their family's life. They have a mom and a dad as well. And then it also follows Julia's husband, William's life. And you get the perspectives from 3 of these people. You get William's, you get Julia's, and you get the second oldest sister, Sylvia. I'm not sure if there will be other perspectives of different members in the family, but for now it's only been those 3, and they are all so interesting to read about. And just when I'm in their chapter, I love being in each of their brains. I am finding it interesting. I wouldn't say the characters are necessarily likable. I feel each time I'm reading one of them, I'm a little ugh. Except Sylvia. There's nothing I don't like about Sylvia so far, and I don't want to give away any of the drama that's happening or anything that has happened, but it pretty much is just following all of these moving parts and all of these characters and all of their lives and how they are woven together. There definitely is a major focus on sisterhood. I would say that that is the central theme so far that I'm picking up. The sisters, the 4 sisters, are so central. They are so connected, and it's really interesting to hear about their relationship. I'm actually one of 3 sisters, so I can relate a little bit, and yeah, that's definitely the main theme. But then there's also just themes of family and questioning purpose in life and things like that. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have so far. I am really loving this, and I'm just gonna continue reading it tonight. Oh, before I go, I did have one more thought. This book, I'm enjoying it so much. It makes me think that I need to read more books like this, more fiction, more family dramas. Recently, I feel I've been reading a lot of just fluffy rom-coms, romances, and they fall very middle of the road for me, 3 stars. I don't love them. I don't connect to them. I'm not feeling propelled by the story. Whereas this is making me me feel all of those things. And I'm like, I should read more of these books and less of the other ones. So we will see how I feel at the end of this book. But for now, I'm definitely having that feeling. And maybe it will change how I choose my books from now on if I end up really liking this as much as I am right now. Okay, as you just saw, I finished Hello Beautiful, and oh my gosh, I was a sobbing mess for probably the last 100 pages of this book. I was crying on and off for the entire time. It was so emotional, so heart-wrenching, and that is a type of book I love. I love when I cry in a book. It automatically makes me rate a book higher, just because if I can connect that deeply to it, I know it's good. But besides just the crying and like the emotional impact that I just had with this book, I think I can say, no, I'm positive I can say that this is my favorite book of the year so far. One of my favorite books of all time, without a doubt. And I'm just kind of shook. I'm just kind of blown away by that. Like, I didn't see that coming. I didn't even think I would necessarily enjoy this book. But now I'm thinking that I'm a family drama, like super fan, because oh my gosh, I think this is the most beautiful story I have ever read. It was literally stunning. Perfection. I honestly don't have too much to say about it because I don't feel like my words can like speak to how good this was. It was just so good. I loved every single second of it. I connected to every single character in here. I thought the storytelling was amazing. I was so enthralled. Like, this story literally consumed me. I'm kind of at a loss for words. I do feel like I need to give you guys a little bit of an update. So the last time I talked to you, I think I was just saying that it's a family drama, which of course it is. And I was talking about the sisters and everything. And pretty much the book follows them over probably 30 years of their lives. The first half is definitely more compact, or no, more spread out. Like, the first half of the book is probably like 2 or 3 or 5 years, their early adulthood, where a lot of drama happens. And the second half of the book is over like 25 years, and it's kind of where all the drama unfolds, and it moves much faster over more years. And I kind of got to that entire part of the book today, and I loved both parts. I think they were both so necessary and just told such a wonderful story. There were so many things in here I loved. There was just so much like themes of family and father-daughter relationships. If you like are sensitive about that specifically, like, I think this book will do it to you. The name of the book, Hello Beautiful, is actually what the father in this book would always say to his daughters whenever they walked in the room, which I just think is beautiful. This book also deals a lot with depression, and it says on the inside of the cover, it says, "Can love make a broken person whole?" And I do feel like that's kind of the theme of the whole book, but there is so much more. Like I said, I feel like I can't even speak to it. Just, if you think that this book sounds good, I highly suggest you pick it up. I feel like I'm kind of not even portraying how much I loved it, but it was truly so beautiful. Like, such an incredible story. I think it's one that will stick with me forever, and I feel like I would want to reread this. I'm just like wowed at this experience, and I loved it so much. Definitely my favorite book of the year so far, which is such a great feeling. Also, if you're watching this, take it as a sign to read books out of your comfort zone. This book is definitely out of my comfort zone, but I'm thinking now that it should be my comfort zone because I loved it so much. Like, this is your sign to try something new, because now I want to read more books like this. I will say that it takes a little bit more time and effort to get into the story, but it is so worth it. Like, I feel like rom-coms or thrillers, you're thrown right into the action. It's like exciting right from the beginning. And this is a bit slower of a build, not too slow. I was hooked pretty early on, like from the first moment I was reading it. You know, a story like this does take a little bit more time. Like, it's one that you want to kind of read slowly. Like, I kind of wanted to like savor this and spread it out. And I just think, I don't know, this is your sign to try something different maybe. Step outside your comfort zone, because who knows, you could be surprised. Okay, now that we have talked about this, I think that my plan for the rest of the night will be to start another book. It is 7 o'clock, so I have 2-3 hours before I'm gonna go to bed, so I definitely have time to read another book, so I'm going to use that time. I'm thinking I will read Yours Truly. But I definitely need a little bit of a brain break, because I'm a little strung out, or what's the word? Because I'm a little drained emotionally right now, but I think I'll definitely start that in a little bit. You guys, the worst thing ever just happened. Okay, not to be dramatic, not the worst thing ever. There are much worse things, but something very annoying just happened. I recorded all of my thoughts on yours truly, like a whole probably 5 minutes or more of me talking, and I was on like slow motion mode on my camera. This happens to me multiple times and I never learn. I need to make sure every single time I go to record that I'm on the right setting. Okay, but anyway, you saw this morning that I spent the beginning of my day, the beginning of my morning reading this book. I got to page 135 and I was probably at like 85 at the end of last night, so I read 50 more pages today. And so far, so good. Like the best way that I could describe it is that it's just giving me classic Abby Jimenez feelings. I've decided that she is my favorite rom-com author, romance author. I think she does it so well. She adds so much extra to her stories that just make them so much better, in my opinion. They are so well done. They are never boring. I'm immediately intrigued. I think she writes like the build up to a relationship really well. She writes the meeting of the two characters really well. I think she makes it really organic and natural and real, and she makes it cute and funny and like all of the things. And she also weaves in like other storylines and other characters and like personal things that each of the characters are going through that makes it just so like better and interesting and like just really fast paced. And I love these books usually from the very beginning, which I can't say for all romances. And this specific book is following Brianna and Jacob. They are ER doctors in the same hospital, and Brianna just went through a divorce, and she's also dealing with her younger brother who is very sick at the moment. He's physically sick, and then his physical sickness is also making him depressed. So he's in a very bad place, which is putting Brianna in a bad place because she cares so deeply about him and like is very affected by how he is feeling. She's also like working a lot of hours. She's not really feeling satisfied in her life at the moment. She's sworn off of men, all of that. And then you have Jacob, who is new to the hospital that Brianna works in, and it's the same hospital that Part of Your World and Just for the Summer revolve around. So it's all in the same world in Michigan, and you see the different characters pop in and out. And that is a really cool aspect of this little interconnected series that I'm loving. Like every time I see a character from another book, I'm like, hello. Also, I did read this book out of order. This is the second book, and I read it like after I read the third. I don't think it was too big of a deal, but you probably should read them in order. And Jacob is new to the hospital, and he struggles with pretty severe anxiety. I think it's mainly social anxiety, but also just anxiety in general. I've seen so many people say that the way the anxiety is portrayed in this book is like the best that they've ever seen. They feel like so like represented by this book, which I think is really cool. I don't personally struggle with anxiety. I've never really dealt with it, so I don't know like how this portrayal is, but I do think it's a really interesting aspect of the story. I really like that there's another layer of Jacob's character, and I like the little like aspects of it and showing him like working through his anxiety and how it like comes to life in his life. I also think, even though I don't struggle with anxiety, there are people in my life who do, and I feel like this is even helping me understand them better. So I would say, like, if you or anyone you know struggle with anxiety, definitely give this book a read because it's very prominent and it's very interesting. So that's kind of like an example of something that makes the book like better, in my opinion, than just like a typical rom-com. It's not silly. It's not like stupid. Like sometimes when you're reading a rom-com, you're just like, okay, what am I reading? No, this book is definitely not like that. I'm loving it so far. I have nothing bad to say. Some things I've loved so far are the way they write letters to each other, which is really fun. I've also noticed that in some of her other books, Abby Jimenez uses that kind of same like device to get the relationship going. Like in another book, they were like messaging over Reddit because they weren't in the same place at first. So I feel like she uses like letters and things like that, like writing to each other as a way to propel the relationship. And I think it's very fun. I've also already choked up in this book. It had something to do with Brianna's younger brother, but it just like moved me and got me way more emotional than I thought I would, especially at like the beginning of this book. So I would say like the potential is high for me to really love it. So far, I'm loving it. I have nothing bad to say. I feel like this could be a 5-star. The only thing I'm slightly nervous about is that I just finished Hello Beautiful, which was such like a deep and like moving and like poignant story that I don't know if this is gonna like match up to that in terms of 5-star. I'm just gonna try and think about the books very separately and like take this out of like the time I'm reading it and like the book I'm reading it after and just like think of it on its own and if it would be a 5-star. So I'm gonna try and do that because I do feel like my experience with the previous book could affect how I rate this book and I don't want it to. So I'm gonna keep that in mind. And yeah, it's currently around like 2 or 3 on Thursday afternoon, so I'm pretty much just gonna read for the rest of the night. I work for myself, so I get to read a lot. Like if you ever wonder how I can read so many books, it's because I work for myself. So whenever I get what I need to get done, I'm pretty much reading. So that is what I'm gonna do today. I feel like this week I've had a lot of time to read, which is always lovely. And the other thing is that it's very rainy and dreary and gray here. It's been actually perfect reading conditions. I love that weather for reading, but I want to go for a run this afternoon and I'm pretty much just going to read and watch the window and see when the rain lets up and go for a run, hopefully, if it does. Besides that, like, catch me here all night. Hello everyone, happy Friday, good morning. It's probably not Friday when you're watching this, but it's Friday for me. I just got back from a workout class. It was a very early workout class. It was like 6:45. So now it's only 8 o'clock and I have the whole day ahead of me. And I thought it was time to talk about Yours Truly because I finished that last night and I also started to read more of Yellowface. So we have much to discuss right now. Okay, I took off my sweatshirt because I was sweating, but Yours Truly, I adored this book. Like I feel like adored is the perfect word to use because I loved it. I was swooning over it. I thought it was adorable. I thought it was so cute. I thought it was truly a perfect romance book. I didn't give it a 5-star. I gave it a 4.75 star, which is probably the most annoying rating I could ever possibly give, but to me, it just, for some reason, it didn't give me the 5-star feeling, and I saw someone say that, like, if you're doubting that it's a 5-star, then it's not, and I was kind of doubting that. Like, in my brain, I was trying to convince myself that it's a 5-star, because I know so many people love it, and I wanted to love it, and I did love it. It just wasn't a 5-star, but, like, that doesn't matter. Just know that I absolutely loved this book. Like, I will say forever that I love it. I highly recommend. Like, there's not much wrong with it. I think it's like I said, a perfect romance book. I think probably the reason why it's a 4.75, besides just that I didn't get the feeling, which is like so vague, is that, you know how in most romance books there is eventually a problem? The problem in this book annoyed me a little bit. Like, I'm not gonna give too much away, but it dragged out a lot to me. And it kind of just, I don't know. Maybe that's why it's not a 5-star. That's like probably my only complaint with this book. The rest of it was true perfection. I like this a similar amount to Just for the Summer. I think that I like the characters in this book more than Just for the Summer. I liked each of them individually. I liked them together. I liked how they fell in love with each other more. I liked how they love each other more. That was probably my favorite thing about this book. Like, just the little moments between them, the funny moments, the sweet moments, the cute moments, like just all the moments. And that was what like built it up to be like a beautiful love story for me, was like the little moments and little, I don't know, there was just so many times where I was catching myself smiling at the pages, giggling at the pages. I was spooning. It gave me those butterfly, like romantic romance book feels, which is all you can ask for in a romance book. I loved the letters. I loved the way they showed each other love. I thought they really got and understood each other as people. There were tons of like small acts of service and little moments that made me be like, oh my gosh, that is the cutest thing ever. Jacob is the best. I see whenever people review this, they're like, everyone needs a Jacob in their life, and I could not agree with that more. He is such a perfect book boyfriend. He's a little bit different than like the type I would typically like be in love with, but you know what? I am in love with him. I think that's pretty much all I have to say about this book. Like, I just loved it. I also think not only was the story like inside it really good, the way the book was told was really good. It was very fast, it was very fun, it kept me engaged. I was so hooked. I pretty much finished it in one day. Same with Just for the Summer. So I guess that is something that Abby Jimenez does. She makes romance books that I don't want to put down, which a lot of times I do want to put romance books down. So that is good. Yeah, love this book, 4.75. So far, so good with this reading challenge, or it's not a challenge, but reading vlog. I guess that these books are Goodreads Choice Awards nominees and winners for good reason, because I'm really liking these books. These are two of my highest rated books of the year so far, Hello Beautiful and Yours Truly. And now it's time for Yellowface. Let me go get it. Okay, so I actually woke up early this morning at like 4:30, and I had to wake up at like 5:30 for my workout class anyway, and I couldn't fall back to sleep, so I was like, you know what, I might as well start reading. So I did read maybe 40 more pages, which is about halfway through this book. If you don't know the premise of this book, we are following June Hayward, who stole her old college classmate's manuscript. So pretty much she was in her friend Athena's apartment. Athena was an Asian American, very successful writer, and she had her manuscript that she was working on in her apartment, but no one had seen it yet. And June was there, and Athena choked on something and died right in front of June. So June decided to pretty much steal Athena's manuscript and publish it as her own. And the manuscript was this big book on the Chinese Labor Corps, I think it's called. Yes, the unsung contributions of Chinese laborers during World War I. And June is not Asian at all. She has no Asian heritage. So she is a white woman who steals her friend's book that centers around Asian culture and Asian history and publishes it as her own. And she also, like, she doesn't claim that she's Asian, but she publishes the book under like a racially ambiguous name, and she uses a racially ambiguous photo. So you can see where problems would arise with this book. And I was really enjoying this book in the beginning, and that's not to say that I'm not enjoying it now, but I thought the premise was really interesting and I was very into it, and I am still into it. But I think like this book is definitely trying to say something, of course. Like, of course it's trying to say something. You can tell that from the description that I just told you. And even here it says, with its totally immersive first-person voice, Yellowface grapples with questions of diversity, racism, and cultural appropriation, as well as the terrifying alienation of social media. So I feel like I got to a point in this book where it was like a lot of that, like a lot of making a point. And like, of course it does feel like a story, but it really does feel like, you know, saying something. And I feel like I kind of put the book down because I was getting a little out of the story, and that was a couple of weeks ago, but now I'm picking it back up for this reading vlog. I picked it up this morning and I'm actually getting back into it. I feel like the story is taking a turn because, like, as you can probably assume, what June does may come back to haunt her because it's kind of a crazy thing that she did. And I feel like I'm getting to the point where the repercussions are going to happen. And I'm actually really excited to pick this up as soon as I stop this clip because I want to see what happens. So I am getting back into the story. And also, like, I feel like I was saying that the fact that this book is saying something is a negative thing, and it's not a negative thing. It's just like definitely a different type of book than what I'm used to. I'm finding it fascinating, but it just like wasn't what I was in the mood for at that time. But now I'm getting back into it. I'm liking the story, and I do think that what R.F. Kuang is saying is an important thing to say, and I'm interested in learning about it. Not only the things that I mentioned that it talks about, like racism and cultural appropriation, but it also definitely talks a lot about the publishing industry, and I guess kind of how that stuff plays a role in the publishing industry, and then just like the politics of that in general, like how awards work and how people like push certain books, and like no matter what, sometimes your book will be amazing and it just won't make the top of any lists. So that's kind of fascinating to read about too as a avid reader, and like an opinion from a very popular author, because I'm sure she knows what she's talking about. I'm sure this is real. So I think that that is my thoughts for now. I'm gonna read this book. I'll probably finish it very soon. I only have half of it left and it's pretty fast to go through. I also feel like this is a book that once I finish it, I'm gonna do some of my like own research, because I feel like I know what she's saying, but I wanna like investigate it and know for sure that I know what she's saying. I don't know, if you can tell, that book's like a little bit over my head. Like, I feel like it's a little out of my it's definitely out of my comfort zone. I thought Hello Beautiful was out of my comfort zone, but actually now that I think about it, that is like way more in my comfort zone, and this is way more out of my comfort zone than I thought it was. But I'm enjoying both, so we will see. Okay, so I was saying before that this is going a little over my head, and I feel like that's happening again. Like, there are just sections of this book that I feel like kind of dumb in, like just not smart enough to kind of know what's really happening. Like, I feel like I'm getting the overall message of what's happening with June and like the repercussions from what she did, but like the nitty gritty, I'm a little confused. Or not confused, just like I don't really understand. I don't know if that makes any sense. I'm trying to like give my feelings as I go, and that's just a feeling that I'm having, so I thought I would share. Okay, I feel like I just found the perfect example about what I'm talking about. So I've read this passage like 3 times now, and I can kind of get what is being said, but the first time I read it, like I just read big words and I didn't understand anything. Like, I feel like it'll make sense after I read it. Okay. But his first novel, a self-proclaimed genre-bending thriller about race-hopping androids in a near-future society, failed to make the expected splash. A reviewer at Locus called it a confused and ultimately misguided, possibly malicious, exploration of post-raciality and racial fluidity. My debut novel didn't sell very well, but at least no reviewers ever said that I should keep the ill-considered and shallow philosophizing? I don't know that word. To undergraduate bars and off the page where grown adults can see. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I read it multiple times, I can get what it's saying, but at first it's just like big words about things I don't exactly know. I'm on page 252, so just about 50 pages left. And one thing I heard about this book going into it was that the main character was so unlikable and like insufferable. And that is so true. Like, she is the most like delusional, pathetic person. Like, I know these are aggressive ways to describe her, but she was just teaching this writing workshop to high school students, and the way she acted with one of the high school students was literally insane. Like, she's crazy. And she even described herself as pathetic about what she did, and you know, I couldn't have said it better myself. But it is kind of interesting to read about. Like, I'm kind of eating up her being this delusional. Okay, so I have finally finished Yellowface, and it definitely took a different turn there that I wasn't really expecting, or I guess I was kind of expecting it because I had heard that this was a little bit of like a suspense thriller kind of fiction, and the suspense aspect definitely built up at the end. It was actually very like exciting. Like, I was kind of flipping the pages, going very fast, trying to see what happened. Like, I was on the edge of my seat. And overall, I definitely enjoyed this book. I don't know what my rating's gonna be. I think I need to think about it and like look into some things and then come back to you. But I did enjoy it, and it was like easy to get into the story. I don't know, like, I'm a little confused on my feelings overall, but my main takeaway is that June, the main character, I said it before, but she's nuts. She is literally nuts. The ending, like the last page of this book, I was like, oh my gosh, this girl. So that's my main takeaway. It was kind of interesting to read that, but I think what I'm gonna go do is go make breakfast and like read Goodreads reviews and read stuff about this book, and then come back with you with a more polished thought. Okay, so Yellowface. I feel like I'm kind of intimidated to talk about this book. I don't know why, but I just feel like it's like deals with topics that I just don't know enough about. Like, I don't know, I just feel kind of intimidated to share my thoughts and my opinions on it. Like I said, a lot of the book felt like it went over my head, and that's kind of like my conclusion. Like, I enjoyed the book, I thoroughly enjoyed it, I liked it, I thought it was like a unique, different, fun, entertaining read, but I was going over Goodreads reviews, and a lot of people were saying that R.F. Kuang is a genius for this, the book was brilliant, and I don't necessarily like see that, or not that I don't see it, I do see it. I don't feel it. Like, I didn't read the book in that way. I just read it as like kind of a suspenseful, interesting story. Like, I didn't see the genius. No, I saw the genius. Or like, I can tell that it's there, but like, I didn't necessarily see it. You know what I'm trying to say? And I feel like that's, to me, why this book is on the Goodreads Best Books of 2023 list. It was actually the winner. So I think like that like genius and like such uniqueness of a story, like I've never read a story like this, is why it won. And I can see that it's very well done. It's like very insightful, all of that. I just don't think it was like honestly like the best like story, but I don't think it won for the story. I think it won for like kind of more like looking into the story. I don't know if that makes any sense, but pretty much I think I enjoyed the book, but like on a surface level. Like I don't think I saw the genius, which is why everyone like loved this and why it's at the top of every list, but I did enjoy it. Also, I found this one review on Goodreads that I feel like sums it up perfectly. It says, "It is a story about chance and opportunity, about the darkness of the human minds, about that blurred line where friendship ends and selfishness starts. It's a book about madness and disillusion, about race, about politics, about death, about fame, and its consequences." And that was from Teodora on Goodreads. So yeah, that's kind of the vibe of the book, and I thought it was really good. I just think like the deepness of it, or like the commentary of it, went a little over my head. But all in all, this was actually a fantastic week of reading. It is Friday, so I actually completed everything I set out to. I didn't know if I was gonna be able to accomplish these 3, or I guess 2 2/3 books in this week. I thought it might take me a little bit longer than a week, but I'm very proud and happy that I got it all in this week, Monday through Friday. And just for a little recap, we read Hello Beautiful, which is my favorite book of the year. Definitely still rings true. I loved this. Then we have yours truly, 4.75, truly a perfect romance book. And then Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. I think it's gonna be a 3.75, but I haven't quite decided that. And then overall, I would say reading Goodreads 2023 awarded books was a lot of fun. I had a lot of successes. Like overall, I liked all of these books. Like they all swing in the direction of me liking them. Like I was way above neutral on all of them, which is a success. That doesn't happen to me with like usually reading 3 books. So I think I should probably read more books on the list, which is like duh, because the lists are full of like the best books of the year, so it's obvious. But I really enjoy doing this, and I think I should definitely purchase and read more books off of the list. Also, before I go, if you guys were wondering if my Sleepy Girl mocktail and tea and everything worked, it did. I had really good sleep all this week. I didn't take any naps, which last week I took naps like every day. So I suggest trying it out, and I just wanted to update you guys because I said I would. I think that's all from me for now. So on that note, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I had so much fun making it. Don't forget to subscribe for more book content, and I'll see you in the next one.